The envelope from my grandmother trembled in my hands as I stood in what used to be my bedroom. Now it was Zane's man cave, complete with a gaming setup that probably cost more than my entire semester's textbooks. The walls, once covered in my dance competition photos and honor roll certificates, were now bare, except for his collection of vintage movie posters. I'm Brooke, and this was supposed to be my triumphant return home for Christmas break after my first semester at college. Instead, I was standing in a stranger's room, feeling like an intruder in my own house. "Oh, honey, you're here!" Mom's voice carried up the stairs. "Zane helped me set up the pull-out couch in the den for you." The pull-out couch. Perfect. "Thanks, Mom," I called back, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just getting something from the room." I slipped the envelope into my backpack and headed downstairs. Mom was in the kitchen, fussing over what looked like protein smoothie ingredients, probably for Zane's post-workout routine. "The scholarship's working out okay?" she asked, not looking up from the blender. "I saw your grades posted online. The B+ in chemistry was unexpected." "I got straight A's in everything else," I said, leaning against the counter. "And yeah, the scholarship's fine. I earned it, remember?" Mom finally looked up, her perfectly manicured eyebrows drawing together. "No need to be defensive, sweetie. I just want to make sure you're not struggling. Zane's been telling me about his business classes and—" "Mom," I cut her off. "Zane's taking community college classes part-time. I'm on a full ride at State." The front door opened, and speak of the devil, Zane walked in wearing designer workout gear. "Hey, favorite stepmom," he called out, giving Mom a side hug that made her beam. "And if it isn't my favorite stepsister, how's the Ivy League treating you?" "It's State University, Zane. You know that." He grinned, grabbing the smoothie Mom had just finished blending. "Same difference, right? Hey, thanks for letting me use your room, by the way. The lighting is perfect for my streaming setup." "Wasn't really my choice, was it?" "Brooke," Mom warned, but my phone buzzed with perfect timing. It was Noe, my roommate, and probably the only person who truly got me these days. "Need to take this," I said, stepping out onto the back porch. The December air bit at my cheeks, but it was better than staying in that kitchen. "Please tell me you're surviving," Noe said as soon as I answered. "They gave away my room." "No way." "Way. I'm sleeping on the pull-out couch while golden boy Zane gets my space." "The same Zane who supposedly makes bank with his entrepreneurial ventures but still lives at home?" I lowered my voice, glancing over my shoulder at the kitchen window. "Yeah, about that. I found something interesting. Remember how I told you about my grandmother's weird warnings about him? The ones your mom ignores? She just slipped me an envelope. I haven't opened it yet, but—" The porch door slid open. I quickly switched to talking about finals as Zane stepped out, phone in hand. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, not looking sorry at all. "But I need to make a call. Business stuff, you know how it is. Or maybe you don't." I rolled my eyes and went back inside, where Mom was preparing dinner. "Honey," she said, "while you're home, maybe Zane could give you some financial advice. He's doing so well with his investments." The envelope in my backpack seemed to burn through the fabric. "Sure, Mom, whatever you say." Later that night, curled up on the lumpy pull-out couch, I finally opened my grandmother's envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and what looked like bank statements. "Dear Brooke," it read, "sometimes the truth isn't what we want to see, but that doesn't make it any less real. Watch carefully. You'll know what to do when the time comes. Love, Grandma Eloise." I stared at the ceiling, listening to Zane's muffled voice through the floor above as he took another business call at midnight. The bank statements lay heavy on my chest, and for the first time since coming home, I felt a smile creep across my face. Maybe this Christmas wouldn't be so bad after all. "Remember when Brooke used to win all those math competitions?" my cousin Desiree asked during breakfast the next morning. "That was so cool." "Ancient history," Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Zane's doing amazing things now. Did you see his new car?" I stabbed my eggs with more force than necessary. The new car was a sleek BMW that appeared in our driveway last month. According to Mom, it was all thanks to Zane's successful investments. "Speaking of cars," Zane chimed in, "I'm thinking of upgrading again. There's this sweet Mercedes—" How exactly do you afford all this? I interrupted, thinking about the bank statements hidden in my backpack. Must be some impressive business ventures. The room went quiet. Zane's smile flickered for just a second before returning full force. Hard work pays off, sis. Maybe I'll teach you sometime. I'd love to learn, I said sweetly. Maybe we could start with how you managed to buy a BMW while taking 2 classes at community college. Brooke! Mom's voice carried that familiar warning tone. Don't be rude to your brother. Stepbrother, I corrected, standing up. I need some air. I found myself walking the 3 blocks to Grandma Eloise's house, the way I used to when things got too heavy at home. She was in her garden, despite the December chill, pruning her winter roses. I was wondering when you'd show up, she said without turning around. Tea's already brewing inside. Her kitchen was warm and smelled like cinnamon. As she poured the tea, her eyes met mine. You saw the statements. Why didn't you show these to Mom? I asked. They prove he's been... Your mother sees what she wants to see, Grandma cut in. Just like she did with those dance recitals she missed, or the graduation speech she left early. The old hurt bubbled up, because Zane had a baseball game that day. Grandma sipped her tea. Tell me about college. It's different. Good different. My roommate Noe, she's amazing. We stay up late talking about everything and nothing. Her family actually shows up for her performances. She's in theater. Sounds like you found your people. My phone buzzed. A text from Desiree. Zane just bought everyone lunch. Like $300 worth of sushi. Mom's wondering where he gets all this money, lol. He's getting bolder, Grandma observed, reading the text over my shoulder. Pride comes before the fall. I could show Mom the statements right now, I said. End this whole thing. You could, Grandma refilled my cup. But timing is everything, dear. Watch and wait. When I got home, Zane was showing off his new Apple Watch to our younger cousins. Early Christmas gift to myself, he bragged. Gotta treat yourself sometimes, right? Right, I echoed, thinking about my scholarship-funded laptop that took 3 years of perfect grades to earn. That evening, I called Noe. You won't believe this, I said. He bought a $300 lunch today, just because. With your mom's money? According to Grandma's statements, he's been transferring funds from Mom's accounts for months. Small amounts at first, but they're getting bigger. And your mom has no idea? She thinks he's some kind of business genius. Meanwhile, I had to fight for every dollar of my college fund. That's messed up, Noe said. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, I heard Zane's voice floating up from downstairs. He was talking to Mom. Really proud of how Brooke's doing at State, he was saying. Must be nice having everything handed to you on a scholarship. She worked hard for that, Mom replied, but her voice held none of the fierce defense she used when anyone questioned Zane. Of course, Zane said smoothly. Hey, I was thinking of starting a new investment venture. Would you mind if I pressed the phone closer to my ear. No? I think I know exactly what I'm going to do. What's the plan? Christmas dinner. The whole family will be there, including Grandma Eloise. You're going to expose him? I watched through the window as Zane got into his BMW, the one bought with stolen money, and drove off to wherever he really went during his business meetings. Let's just say, I smiled, I'm giving everyone an unexpected Christmas gift this year. The gift of truth? The gift of consequences. 3 days before Christmas, the house was buzzing with activity. Mom was decorating every surface with garland, while Zane supervised from the couch, scrolling through his phone. Hey, Mom, he called out. Quick question about that joint account we set up? I pretended to be absorbed in my book, but strained to hear every word. What about it, sweetie? Mom balanced on a stepladder, hanging ornaments. Just wondering if you got a notification about a transfer? Probably nothing, just some investment stuff. Oh, I don't check those anymore, Mom laughed. You're so much better with money than I am. I trust you completely. I caught Zane's satisfied smirk from the corner of my eye. My phone buzzed. A text from Grandma Eloise. Coming over, bring those papers we discussed. 20 minutes later, we sat in her car parked a block away, reviewing the evidence. Look at this pattern, Grandma pointed to the statements. He started with $500 here, then $1,000 there. Now he's up to $5,000 transfers. And Mom never checks? Your mother's always been selective about what she wants to see. Grandma's voice carried years of observation. Remember your 16th birthday? I did. Mom had forgotten about my driver's test because Zane had a college campus tour that day. I ended up taking the bus to the DMV alone. But this is different, I said. He's stealing from her. Is he? Grandma raised an eyebrow. Or is she giving him the attention and trust you always wanted? Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a call from Noe. You need to check Zane's Instagram, she said without greeting. Right now. I pulled up his profile and felt my blood boil. There he was, posing in front of a new gaming setup that looked suspiciously expensive. The caption read, "Hard work pays off. Blessed to be making my own way in life. Entrepreneur, mark self-made." Self-made, I scoffed. More like mom-made. Keep scrolling, Noe urged. The next post showed him at a luxury car dealership. Big moves coming soon. Stay tuned for the next upgrade. He's planning something bigger, Grandma said, looking at the posts. Christmas is coming, and he'll want to make a show of his success. Back at home, I found Mom and Zane in the kitchen. He was showing her something on his laptop. See, the investment portfolio is doing great, he was saying. I could handle more capital if you're interested. Really make that money work for us. That sounds wonderful, Mom beamed. You're so good at this, Zane. I wish... She caught herself, but I knew what she was going to say. I wish Brooke had your financial sense. I wish Brooke was more like you. Later that night, I heard Zane on the phone in what used to be my room. Yeah, man, it's too easy, he was saying. She never checks the accounts. I'm telling you, by New Year's, I'll have enough for that Mercedes. No chance of getting caught. She trusts me completely. I recorded the conversation on my phone, hands shaking with anger and something else. Anticipation. My phone buzzed with a text from Desiree. Did you see Zane's Insta? Mom's asking why I can't be more successful like him. Then another from Noe. You okay? Remember, 2 more days until Operation Christmas Truth. I was about to reply when I heard Mom and Zane talking downstairs. I was thinking, Mom said, maybe we should put the house in your name too. For tax purposes, you know? You understand all that financial stuff so much better than I do. That's a great idea, Zane replied smoothly. We can talk to a lawyer after the holidays. Speaking of which, you're going to love your Christmas gift. Let's just say it's substantial. I texted Grandma. He's going after the house. Her reply came instantly. Time to accelerate the plan. Tomorrow night. Family dinner. Be ready. My heart raced as I thought about what was coming. All those years of being second best, of watching Mom shower Zane with the love and trust I'd never received, were about to come to an end. I opened my laptop and started compiling everything. Bank statements, recorded conversations, Instagram posts, text messages. Each piece of evidence another nail in the coffin of Zane's carefully constructed facade. Merry Christmas, Zane, I whispered to myself. Hope you're ready for your gift. The pre-Christmas family dinner was Mom's tradition, always held the night before Christmas Eve. As I helped her set the table, Zane breezed through the kitchen in designer clothes that probably cost more than my entire college wardrobe. Need any help? He asked, already heading for the door. Actually, Mom began. Sorry, got a quick business meeting. Back in time for dinner. The door slammed behind him. He works so hard, Mom sighed proudly. Oh, that reminds me. Brooke, could you use the regular plates? Let's save the good china for tomorrow when Zane's giving his big announcement. My hand tightened around the stack of plates. What announcement? He wouldn't tell me exactly, but he said it's going to change everything. Isn't it exciting? I thought about the conversation I'd overheard about putting the house in his name. Yeah, really exciting. My phone buzzed with a text from No. Ready for tonight? Before I could respond, Grandma Eloise arrived early, carrying a thick manila envelope. Just some old family photos, she said loudly, winking at me. Thought we could look through them after dinner. We worked in the kitchen together while Mom went to change. You're sure about this? Grandma asked quietly. Once it's done, there's no going back. He's going after the house, Grandma. The house Dad left for us. She nodded grimly. I've added the latest bank statements. The transfer he made yesterday was for $10,000. The doorbell rang. Family members started arriving. Aunts, uncles, cousins. Desiree hugged me tight and whispered, Zane's been bragging to everyone about some huge surprise he's planning. Trust me, I whispered back. The surprise tonight isn't going to be his. Zane returned just as Mom was calling everyone to the table. He had that familiar smug look, the one he wore when he knew he'd gotten away with something. Before we start, he announced, standing at the head of the table, Dad's old spot. I just want to say how blessed I feel to be part of this family, especially you, Mom. He smiled at my mother. Your trust means everything to me. I caught Grandma's eye across the table. She gave me the slightest nod. Speaking of trust, I said, standing up. My heart hammered, but my voice stayed steady. I have something to share, too. Brooke, Mom frowned. Zane was speaking. No, this can't wait. I pulled out my phone. I want to play something for everyone. Zane's recorded voice filled the dining room. Yeah, man, it's too easy. She never checks the accounts. The color drained from his face. Mom looked confused. What is this? Show them, Grandma said quietly, sliding the manila envelope across the table. My hands shook as I pulled out the bank statements. Mom, look at these. Really look at them. All those transfers from your account, they weren't investments. They were theft. That's ridiculous, Zane laughed, but it sounded hollow. Mom, you know me? The BMW, I continued. The designer clothes, the gaming setup, all bought with money he's been stealing from you for months. These could be faked, Zane said quickly. She's just jealous of my success. Call the bank, I challenged. Right now. Check your accounts. See how much is left. The room was silent, except for the sound of Mom's shaking hands as she pulled out her phone. She logged into her banking app, something she hadn't done in months. Oh my God, she whispered. Mom, I can explain, Zane started. $70,000? Her voice cracked. How could you? And he was going to take the house, I added. Weren't you, Zane? That was tomorrow's big announcement? He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. You don't understand. I had investments lined up, deals ready to go. I was going to pay it all back. Like you paid back the money you took from your last stepmother? Grandma's voice cut through his protests. Yes, I checked into that too. Mom's face crumpled as the truth sank in. Years of blind trust shattered in minutes. I think, my uncle said, standing up, we should call the police. No, Zane backed away from the table. No, you can't. But Mom was already dialing, her other hand clutching the bank statements. As chaos erupted around us, I felt a strange mix of triumph and sadness. Not for Zane, he deserved everything coming to him, but for Mom, whose perfect world had just imploded. Grandma squeezed my hand under the table. Truth hurts, she whispered, but lies hurt more. Through the dining room window, I watched Zane's BMW speed away into the night. He wouldn't get far. The police had his name, his photo, and evidence of his theft. Some Christmas gifts, it turns out, come wrapped in consequences. The police found Zane at a highway motel just past midnight. While they took him in for questioning, our house became a crime scene of a different sort. Investigators combing through financial records, aunts and uncles making frantic calls, and Mom sitting silent at the kitchen table staring at nothing. I should have seen it, she kept whispering. All those signs. I sat across from her, pushing a cup of tea closer. Mom? No, she cut me off. Don't try to make me feel better. I chose him over you every time, and look what he did. My phone lit up with a text from Noe. How are you holding up? Before I could respond, Detective Rivera walked in with more papers. Mrs. Oliver? We found evidence of previous fraudulent activities. Your stepson has quite a history. Previous activities? I asked. 3 other families, she said, laying out documents. Same pattern each time. He'd charm his way in, gain trust, then drain accounts. His father, your husband, she nodded to Mom, had no idea. He's on his way here now. Mom's hands trembled as she reached for the papers. The college fund he said he was managing, my retirement account. We'll recover what we can, Detective Rivera assured her. He didn't have time to hide most of it. Grandma Eloise appeared with fresh coffee for everyone. Brooke, she said softly, why don't you take a walk with me? Outside, the Christmas lights seemed too bright, too cheerful. We walked in silence until reaching the park where I used to practice dance routines. Your mother called me earlier, Grandma said. Before you came down for tea, she was crying. About Zane? About you. Grandma sat on a bench, patting the space beside her. She said she finally understood why you worked so hard for that scholarship. You weren't just trying to get into college. You were trying to escape. My throat tightened. I couldn't stay, not with him there, taking everything. I know, dear. And now your mother knows too. She pulled out her phone, showing me a text from Mom sent just minutes ago. How do I even begin to make this right with Brooke? Back at the house, we found Mom in my old room, Zane's room, taking down his posters. I want you to have your room back, she said without turning around. If you want it. Mom, I kept every article about your competitions, she continued, voice breaking. Every honor roll certificate. They're in a box in my closet. I never hung them up because Zane said it might make him feel bad about his grades. God, I was so stupid. You weren't stupid, I said. You were manipulated. We all were. She finally turned to face me, eyes red. When did you get so wise? Probably around the time I realized I had to save myself. And you. The front door opened downstairs. More police, more questions. Mom squared her shoulders. We should go down, she said. But Brooke? Tomorrow. Tomorrow I'd like to hear about your semester. Really hear about it. Everything I should have asked before. My phone buzzed again. Desiree. Holy shit, they found 3 more families he scammed. It's all over the local news. Then Noe. You okay? Need me to drive up? And finally, an unknown number. This is Stephen, Zane's father. I am so sorry for what my son did to your family. Please tell your mother I'll help make this right. Mom was already halfway downstairs when she turned back. Brooke, thank you for being stronger than I was. We're both strong, I said. We just forgot for a while. In the living room, Detective Rivera was laying out more evidence. Bank statements, forged documents, a trail of destruction across 3 states. Mom sat down to face it all. And this time, when she reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. Grandma brought out the photo albums, real ones this time, filled with family pictures from before Zane, before the lies, before we lost ourselves trying to be what he wanted us to be. Look, Mom said softly, pointing to a photo of my first dance recital. You were always so determined, so sure of yourself. When did I stop seeing that? It doesn't matter, I replied. You see it now. Outside, carol singers were making their way down the street. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve, and nothing would be the same. But as I watched Mom finally seeing the truth about Zane, about herself, about me, I realized different didn't mean worse. Sometimes, I thought, the best gifts come wrapped in hard truths and second chances. Christmas Eve morning brought a fresh wave of chaos. Reporters camped outside our house, their cameras flashing every time someone walked past a window. Mom sat at the kitchen table with Stephen, Zane's father, going through more paperwork. The house is safe, Stephen assured her. He never got the chance to file those documents, and I'll help recover whatever else I can. I trusted him with everything, Mom said, her voice hollow. My accounts, my passwords, Your daughter, I finished, walking in with coffee for everyone. The room went quiet. Stephen cleared his throat. Brooke, I can't apologize enough for what Zane... Don't, I cut him off. You didn't know either. My phone buzzed. Noe was FaceTiming. I stepped into the living room to answer. You're trending locally, she said without preamble. Someone leaked the story to social media. They're calling it the Christmas Con. I peeked through the curtains at the news vans. Yeah, we noticed. How's your mom holding up? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Desiree with 2 cups of coffee. Thought you could use this, she said when I let her in. Also, fair warning, half the family's coming over. They all want to help somehow. Help or gawk? I asked. Both, probably. She wasn't wrong. Within an hour, the house filled with relatives bearing casseroles and questions. Aunt Maria was helping Mom change her passwords. Uncle Pete was on the phone with his lawyer friend. Cousins huddled around laptops tracking down Zane's social media posts for the police. He really had us all fooled, Desiree said, scrolling through old photos. Remember when he bought everyone those expensive Christmas gifts last year? With Mom's money, I reminded her. Grandma Eloise arrived with lunch for everyone. As she sat up in the kitchen, Detective Rivera returned with updates. We've frozen all the accounts we could find, she said, and we've located most of the major purchases. The car, the electronics, they'll be repossessed. What about Zane? Mom asked. He's not talking much, but with the evidence we have, he's looking at significant time. The other families are pressing charges too. My phone lit up with another text from an unknown number. This time, it was Zane. Tell Mom I'm sorry. I'll pay everything back. Please don't do this. I showed the message to Detective Rivera, who immediately called it in. He's not supposed to be contacting anyone. Mom read the text over my shoulder. Delete it, she said firmly. Delete everything about him. We spent the afternoon doing just that, removing Zane's photos from frames, clearing his things from my old room, erasing every trace of the person who'd almost destroyed our family. I found this, Mom said quietly, holding up a dusty trophy from my sophomore year dance competition. It was in the attic. I'm putting it back where it belongs. As she placed it on my shelf, more relatives arrived. The house hummed with activity, people making calls, sharing information, offering support. It wasn't the Christmas Eve we'd planned, but it felt more real than any holiday with Zane had ever been. Your cousin Sarah's husband is an accountant, Grandma told Mom. He's offering to help sort out the finances. And my friend's dad is a security specialist, Desiree added. He can help set up better protection for the accounts. I stepped outside for air and found Stephen sitting on the porch steps. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, he said. The expensive gifts, the constant money talk, the way he'd pit people against each other. He was good at what he did, I replied. Really good. But you saw through it. I had to. No one else was looking. Inside, I heard laughter. Actual, genuine laughter. Mom was showing Aunt Maria an old photo album, one without Zane in it. My phone buzzed with another update from Noe. Local news wants to interview you. What should I tell them? I looked through the window at my family. Messy, imperfect, but real. Coming together to rebuild what Zane had tried to destroy. Tell them no comment, I texted back. Some stories don't need a bigger audience. You sure? You could be famous? I don't want fame, I replied. I just wanted my family back. And watching Mom laugh with her sisters, seeing Grandma direct traffic in the kitchen, hearing the honest conversations about money and trust and fresh starts, I realized I finally had exactly that. Christmas morning dawned with a blanket of fresh snow and news that would change everything again. Detective Rivera called just as Mom was making coffee. We need you both to come down to the station, she said. Zane's asking to talk, to both of you. Mom's hand trembled as she set down her mug. I can't. You don't have to, I said quickly. Actually, Detective Rivera interjected through the speaker, his confession could help recover more of your assets, and there might be other victims we don't know about. 20 minutes later, we sat in a stark interview room. Mom gripped my hand under the table as Zane was led in, wearing an orange jumpsuit that made him look smaller, younger somehow. Mom, he started, then caught himself. Giselle, Brooke, Save it, I cut him off. Just tell us where the rest of the money is. He slumped in his chair. Some of it's in offshore accounts. I'll give you the details. But first, I need you to understand. Understand what? Mom's voice was steel. How you manipulated me, used me, turned me against my own daughter? I never meant... Stop lying, I snapped. That's exactly what you meant to do. We found the others, Zane. The other families. This is your pattern. His facade cracked. Fine. You want the truth? I targeted you because you were perfect. A widow with a teenage daughter looking for a ready-made family. So desperate to believe in something good that you'd ignore every red flag. Mom flinched but didn't look away. The money. Where is it? He listed accounts, passwords, hidden investments. Detective Rivera took notes while another officer recorded everything. When he finished, he looked directly at me. How long did you know? Long enough, I replied. Grandma helped me put it together. Ah, Eloise. He actually smiled. The only one I couldn't fool. Should have known she'd be my downfall. No, Mom said firmly. Your own actions were your downfall. We're done here. As we stood to leave, Zane called out, Wait, there's something else you should know. Book him for the additional charges, Detective Rivera told her colleague. We're finished. Outside the station, Mom broke down. I let him into our lives, into our home. I chose him over you, over and over. Mom, stop. I hugged her tight. You're not the first person he's fooled, and you won't be the last. But you're one of the few brave enough to face it. My phone buzzed. Grandma asking how it went. As I typed a response, Detective Rivera emerged with more papers. We've located 3 more accounts, she said. And there's something else. We found evidence that Zane was planning to marry into another wealthy family next summer. He was going to disappear with everything right after. Mom straightened her spine. Well, he won't be attending any weddings where he's going. Back home, the family had gathered again. Desiree met us at the door with hot chocolate and news. They found his storage unit, she said excitedly. All the gifts he gave everyone. They were bought with stolen money, so they have to be returned. But look what we found in there. She led us to the living room, where amid boxes of evidence sat my old dance trophies and photos, the ones I thought Mom had thrown away. He kept them, I whispered. Control, Grandma said from her armchair. Keeping pieces of your life, your achievements, hidden away. That's what abusers do. Not anymore, Mom declared. She started hanging the photos right then and there in prominent spots around the living room. These belong where everyone can see them. My phone lit up with a news alert. Christmas con artist faces multiple charges across 3 states. Below was Zane's mugshot, his confident smile finally gone. They want to interview us, Mom said, reading over my shoulder. Tell our side. Do you want to? She looked around at our family, real family, gathering close, supporting each other, rebuilding trust that Zane had tried to destroy. No, she decided. Our story isn't for them, it's for us. Aunt Maria called everyone to dinner, a proper Christmas dinner filled with love instead of lies. As we sat down, Mom squeezed my hand. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I'm so sorry it took all this for me to see clearly. Merry Christmas, Mom, I replied. Better late than never. And as our family passed dishes around the table, sharing real stories and genuine laughter, I realized something. Sometimes the best gifts aren't wrapped at all. Sometimes they're simply the truth, finally set free. The day after Christmas, Mom and I sat at our kitchen table with stacks of paperwork, sorting through the aftermath of Zane's deception. Detective Rivera had recovered most of the stolen money, but the emotional wreckage still needed cleaning up. Another card from his previous victims, Mom said, opening an envelope. They want to start a support group. That might actually help, I replied, watching her add it to our keep pile. The doorbell rang. Stephen stood there holding a box. Found more of your things in Zane's storage unit, he said. And I wanted to give you this. He handed Mom an envelope containing a cashier's check. It's not much, but it's everything I have in savings. I know it won't make up for what he did, but keep it, Mom said firmly. You're not responsible for his actions. Neither are you, he replied quietly. As Stephen left, Grandma Eloise arrived with Desiree. They'd been helping track down and return all the gifts Zane had bought with stolen money. The BMW's been repossessed, Desiree announced. And guess what? That successful business he claimed to run? It was just a website template he bought for $50. My phone buzzed. Noe sending me my class schedule for next semester. You should see the comments on his old Instagram posts, she texted. Everyone's calling him out now. Speaking of school, Mom said, I've been thinking, would you consider moving back home, now that your room is yours again? I looked around at the walls now covered with my achievements, my photos, my life. Actually, I think I need to stay on campus. Not because I want to run away anymore, but because I've found my place there. Instead of looking hurt, Mom smiled. I'm proud of you, you know that? Not just for exposing Zane, but for building your own life despite everything. Despite me? She added softly. Mom? No, let me finish. I spent so long trying to replace what we lost when your father died that I nearly lost you too. But you never lost yourself. You stayed strong, stayed true. I want to learn how to do that. The front door opened as more family members arrived. Aunt Maria carrying fresh coffee, Uncle Pete with more paperwork from his lawyer friend, cousins bringing lunch. The news vans are finally gone, Aunt Maria reported. But you've got about 50 messages from reporters wanting interviews. Delete them all, Mom and I said simultaneously, then laughed, a real, genuine laugh that felt like healing. Grandma Eloise pulled out an old photo album I'd never seen before. Found this while cleaning out my attic, she said. Look. There was Mom at my age, fierce and independent, leading protest rallies at college. You were just like Brooke, Grandma told her, before you forgot who you were. I remember now, Mom said, touching the photos gently. And I'm not forgetting again. Detective Rivera called with updates. Zane had confessed to everything, hoping for a lighter sentence. The other families were pressing charges. His previous stepmother wanted to meet us. Strength in numbers, Mom said after hanging up. We're all going to meet next week, support each other through the legal process. You don't have to do this alone anymore, I reminded her. Neither of us do. Desiree was scrolling through her phone. The local paper posted an article about financial abuse and how to spot it. They interviewed that therapist you recommended, Grandma. Knowledge is power, Grandma said, and power shared is power multiplied. As evening fell, our house stayed full of family, real family, not the perfect image Zane had tried to force us into. Mom and Aunt Maria were planning self-defense classes together. Uncle Pete was helping set up new security measures for everyone's accounts. Cousins shared stories of red flags they'd noticed but been afraid to mention. You know what? Mom said, looking around at everyone. For the first time since your father died, this feels like home again. My phone lit up with another text from Noe. Ready to come back to school next week? We've got that dance showcase to prepare for. I showed Mom the message. Go, she said immediately. Dance your heart out. I'll be there this time. Front row. Promise. Promise. No more missing the important moments. Outside, the Christmas lights still twinkled, but they didn't seem artificial anymore. They were just lights, illuminating a family finding its way back to truth, back to each other. We're going to be okay, I said, and for the first time in years I completely believed it. Mom hugged me tight. We already are.